I'm reaching out across the globe live to you wherever you are. New York, yes, Manhattan, the West Coast as well, California, place I always wanted to go, Gerry McAnuff and Neil McHale.
The Ballot Peninsula.
O'Hale. Because you guys are canoeists.
We are.
And you're from the Newry and Mourne Sea Kayaking Canoe Club.
Canoe Club.
Wow. Well, Gerry, you and I go back a long way, and I've described you as a teacher, a caring man, an adventurer, and in the middle of all of that, a canoeist, you know.
Yes, canoeing has been a large part of my life since the early 80s when I put my toe into the water. And there's a guy from Bestbrook was actually the person who was instrumental in developing whatever skills or starting to develop whatever skills I now have. Trevor Quinn from the Green Road.
Yes. Was he anything to the great Patsy Quinn?
No, actually,
no relation.
No, but certainly Patsy would have been in the environment, the canoeing environment.
Very much so.
Albeit that he's a disappointment today because he's gone to the Gulf.
Ah,
You know
for
what I
goodness
mean?
sake.
So what can you say? A canoeist going to the Gulf is
Very serious business.
serious
You know, it
business.
is serious altogether. Neil, you're a man of coming close to my. Well, no, you're our vintage. We're all of the one vintage, for God's sake.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, we are, of course. You took to canoeing 2 years ago.
That's correct.
Why?
Well, I was in U3A at the time, and I was doing air clay modeling and Spanish. And I happened to look up at this notice on the board, and there it was, men in canoes.
Wow.
And I thought, well, now, I'll have a go at that. And I met this man. He's now my mentor, and he got me through all of this, and I got a great interest in canoeing. It just sort of brought me out of myself, you know.
Why did you need bringing out of yourself?
Well, I was, at my age, you're suddenly sitting back and you're saying, what can I do at my age? I said,
Well, that's twice you've said at my age.
yeah.
I have to ask, what age are you?
Oh, I've got to keep it. I'm just over the mid-range.
Well, I'm 71.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit higher than that.
You are not, are you?
Yeah.
Well, you're doing something right because you look good and you look fit.
Well, it's up to Gerry. He has me out, well, at least once a week now. I'm on the canal kayaking, and I usually get up about 5:30, 6 in the morning and get down in the canoe. And you'll find, as I did last Sunday, there was a couple of scullies, a couple of lads there on the old scullies, and they
Oh,
were
yes.
canoeing away. And I was talking to them, and they said, we're here from 6 o'clock. And I said, well, do you want to join our club?
Yes.
And he says, oh, we've got our own club. He
Yeah.
says, I'm the chairman, and he's the vice chairman.
Yeah,
He said,
yeah.
This is the club. And this is the thing, you meet such wonderful people when you're in here.
Yes.
I think as well as that, Neil, I think don't underestimate your level of involvement and your level of experience. Like you've paddled on Loch Ness, you've paddled on Carningford Loch, you've paddled on Strangford Loch, and a number of other places as well. You know, so it does require a reasonable level of competence and skill and awareness to be able to do
And a
that.
commitment.
And commitment
You
as
know,
well.
to be getting up and going, doing it, and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of that. And at an age when you're frightened to tell people what age you pulling your leg.
No,
Pulling
well,
your leg
I
there.
don't mind it because I go into places, especially if I'm in the States, and I say, I'm a senior.
Yes,
And I
yes.
get all these goodies from them, you know.
Should we get you the same as I have?
The pass. Well,
The
I've even
pass
got a
for that.
pass for all the parks in the States.
My
So-
goodness.
But someday I hope to get to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I've been across the state and back again on the railway system
Yeah.
over a period of a couple of weeks.
So you're a guy who does a bit of travelling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that. Yeah.
But your longevity hasn't stopped you doing that. You're out there doing it.
No, when I go to places like that, there. I mean, when I was in the Merchant Navy and in the Air Force.
Ah, now we're getting down to it.
When I was in that, when people would go and they say we're going down for a drink, I wouldn't. I'd go and climb a hill,
Yeah.
find a museum somewhere
Yes.
to go in, and get in touch with the local people.
What
Because
were-
I think that is
yeah.
the only way you can meet people.
What were you in the Merchant Navy? What did you do?
Engineering officer.
Were you? I was a radio officer.
Yeah.
I was a spark.
Oh, very good.
Would you like me to leave now?
So you got a good catch.
this developing here.
You got a good catch in this man.
This man
Spirit
here-
of adventure was strong in him.
He's an amazing man with an amazing level of skill and a range of skill as well. One of the projects that we were involved in early in the year was actually building or making a double kayak with a friend of ours down in Cumber who is into that type of business. And this, this man here is, it's like, it's a hands-on thing. He just has to look at her or whatever, and he's right in there, and the level of skill is amazing. I have a lot of admiration from that.
Now, the club, Gerry, it's one thing to be going canoeing. It can be solitary if you wish it to be.
Absolutely.
But you take it out of the realm of solitude and you get a lot of people involved in your club. What's the joy of having a community of people on the water rather than just one or two?
Like, I'd probably sum it up like this, Rowan, and say that if everybody in the world was a kayaker, the place would be a better place to live in. But leaving that aside, the ethos of the club, which has been going in its present form for about little over 4 years, is encouraging the mature stroke adult person to get involved.
Yes, yeah.
And we did some work through the U3A and recruited a number of people there. And the other important part of it is family involvement.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of taking the kids down, leaving them and collecting them at a later stage. We want mum and dad to be involved as well too.
In the canoe.
So one of our families at the moment now, there's mum, dad, the 2 daughters and the son are all kayaking. So that sums it up for me. I get a huge buzz.
That's wonderful.
Out of
yeah.
it.
And the kind of environment, you can have the beautiful solitude, that word again, of the quiet waters of the Newry Canal. You can have the excitement of whitewater canoeing, or you can have the lovely sort of long swell paddling on Carlingford Loch.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a huge range of experiences that are there for the person who wants to experience them.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me, if you would, Neil, the Eskimo roll. Have you done it?
I've done the Eskimo roll.
Wow, I'm filled with admiration for you. And what's the secret of doing it?
I find that one the easiest one, really.
Really?
To do. Assuming I'm thinking of the right Eskimo roll.
Yes, you're going to you capsize. You bring yourself back up again.
Correct, because not that one. I swear. You come up and we grab the bows of the kayak there,
yes,
and you come straight up.
Yeah.
And we can work it sometimes. I used to do it like with Gerry a couple of times when we were down in Drumshambo, and Fernanda would come along. Okay, tip over, and
tip over.
Myself and the Kenny. We would go. He would dive in, and I would go over, and I'd be up pretty quick, which means you're quite dry when you come up.
The difference has been the Eskimo rescue would be where the person capsizes the boat but remains in it
and comes back up again
and uses their hand on the bow of the rescuer.
Oh yes,
and pulls himself
and pulls
up.
it back.
Whereas what you're referring to earlier there was the Eskimo roll, where you actually roll the boat up. With your paddle.
And I suppose it's the paddle going up and then coming down on the water,
It's a sweeping motion with the paddle, and then the paddle is pulled downwards.
Yes.
And at that point there, you're using your hips
to swing the boat back into
yourself and the boat back up.
And against the force of the water, against the presence of the water, you have leverage.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Absolutely. If, for example, if you use your paddle and put the thin edge and slice it into the water, there's no support.
Yeah.
But if you put the blade parallel to the water and pull down on it, you will recognise that there's quite a lot of support.
Gerry, what's the history of canoeing, kayaking?
Oh, kayaking goes back, I think kayaking particularly, you're going back to former centuries, the Inuit, the First Nation people in Canada, Greenland, Siberia, and that whole area where kayaking was an essential skill for living, surviving. And that's actually, there's quite a development at the moment now in Greenland kayaking, Greenland rolling, Greenland skills. And there are people who are touring the country and delivering courses on that particular aspect of canoeing. Canoeing is a generic term, and it encompasses all types of small boat activity on the water, but kayaking is specific to one person. Yeah. You can have a double, but it's
you mentioned the Inuit people, very skilled in taking the bark of the birch tree and constructing a canoe.
Not so much the Inuit, because you wouldn't have many trees over in
Of
Greenland.
course, not that far
you're,
off.
You're talking about what would originally be described as the Indian.
Yes, yes, the North
first-
American.
The first
American,
nation.
the
So
native
actually,
people.
Good program on last night. Ray Mears
Oh, yeah.
was travelling across America and looking at the aspect of how the West was won and the casualties involved in it there. But yeah, you can strip the bark of a particular tree, make your frame, and then encompass the frame in the bark, and use natural products then to put the whole thing together. And it's absolutely amazing, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about the process of paddling your canoe, Neil? Because I'm at a stage in my life where my back would give me some difficulty, my lower back. But, you know, I'm not good. I'm stiffening up.
Well,
You sit upright.
I'm like that anyway.
Yeah,
Rowan,
but it's not
because,
a difficulty. And
it does appear after a little while, but sometimes when you start loosening up, as we do, you know, before you go in the water, that gets you limbed up a little bit, warms up the muscles. But I have arthritis and a few other little problems, but these are things that seem to disappear when you've been on the water for a while, because your end goal is we're heading for that island, say like Graham's Island when we're on, say, Loch Ness. You want to get there, and you're going through, and you're seeing so much. Or if we're on Strangford Loch and the seals are coming up, and you suddenly see a large male seal coming up beside you, and you suddenly you're astounded, and you hear a shout from Gerry, you know, just don't look at him, you know.
Don't look
away,
at him. Avoid eye contact. You go away.
Because his harem's on the rocks, or you know.
Yeah, you're not coming in near my women.
Good posture is basically one of the keys for kayaking, and even though you do maybe have a back problem, it does encourage you to sit up properly, which a lot of us don't do these days. You know,
Indeed,
even we're all guilty of it when we're lying on the couch or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's looking at me when he says that, because when he comes to my house and he sits in the big armchair and he sits down, he said, "No wonder you've got problems, because I can sit there and relax." But Gerry, he's a fantastic person with all the walking and he's really the Fred Astaire of Irish dancing as well, you know. He's really good, you know.
No bother to him, indeed. But you've taken up the language as well, the Irish language. But you've taken a joy in it.
As you said the last time I spoke to you, was that there's a gra there for the language.
There is.
But it's a niche that I continually scratch, and I'm not sure I'm going to how far I'll evolve with it as such. But I think it serves a couple of purposes. I have an interest in the language, the culture, music, whatever.
Yes.
And as well as that, I also feel that if you're involved with something that challenges you intellectually, it may have an influence in terms of me progressing to this man's point in life here and still be compos mentis.
Yes. You
know,
want to be.
both my parents would have suffered from dementia.
Yeah.
And it's when the older you get, the back of your mind says, you know, you've forgotten something, and you really shouldn't have forgotten it. You know, is this the start of this insidious thing? You know.
Oh, I know.
You know, or if you meet somebody, it's amazing if you meet somebody. I met somebody the other day I hadn't seen for 15 years. And immediately their name come back.
Oh, yeah.
But I was talking to another man up in Burcroft the other day, and I should know him as well as I know you. I couldn't remember his name.
Oh, that happens. I think it's there's so many things. If we could invent a system, boys, where we could reboot the mind as we do with computers, might be all right. That would be the way of going.
Yeah, well, never say never. I think you just have to keep yourself challenged.
Challenged all the way through.
Both mentally and physically.
The canoes, the kayaks, they seem to me, and I have kayaked on occasions, they're very, maybe help me with this, maybe it was the wrong size I got or whatever, but you're very confined within it. You're very crushed into it. And the propensity to get cramp and things like that comes along.
There's a big variety of styles and designs today to cater for basically any type of person. At the moment, I have a course running on a Saturday morning, and there's a particular man on it, and he must be 6'3", and he's weighing 16 to 18 stone.
Oh my God, yes.
And we have him in a kayak that fits him.
And he's content with that.
Yeah. So it's about the important thing is about fitting the man to the canoe and vice versa.
Yeah.
So that both are the man is happy in that. Yeah, you are confined, but it's like a safe confinement.
Yes. Yes.
And it offers you stability, providing that the boat is the right size for you,
Yeah.
and you have it probably fitted out with footrests and
Yes,
all the rest
yes,
of it. You know.
yeah.
So the key is a good fit.
A good fit. And what about a camping experience using the kayaks, where you load up your gear in a barrel or in a compartment, and off you go for a camping weekend? Does that kind of thing happen?
Well, that hasn't really happened, although when we were in Lough Neagh and we stopped off at one of the islands when do you remember the local warden gave us a...
Peter?
Peter was...
That's Coney Island.
Coney Island. Yeah. He gave us a whole routine of what went on in the island, history and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And remember we stopped and I got the pan out and a little stove and remember some of the burgers.
Yeah.
We had a bit of it, but that was only for a matter of hours.
Yeah,
but it was something you could do.
Yeah.
You can throw your tent in the back or the front. Depending, how far you're traveling with it. Obviously, the more you put in, the heavier the kayak
will be.
We've got some amazing resources, if you like, in this country here. Last year, myself, a couple of friends, Vernetta, her husband Colin, and my son come over from England, and we went down to not Ballinamore.
Ballyconnell?
It was beside Loch Mask anyway. And we spent 3 lovely days, beautiful sunny days, out on Loch Mask and camping on the islands. And we'd taken all our gear, all the stuff that we required, the food, water and whatever. And we were very fortunate that we got a window of weather which allowed us to do it. Camping can be every bit as challenging.
Indeed. And maybe you even caught a fish or two.
No, I'm not a fisherman. The old story about the fisherman, somebody told me that once they were paddling down the river and this fisherman started shouting at them, "You're frightening the fish." And the retort from the kayaker was, "Well, we're not killing them."
A lot to be said for it. I love it.
But I love to eat them.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say there, well, I understand that concept, because I would far rather get my fish from Tesco's than having them subjected to being killed. We all like to have it neatly wrapped in plastic. Where did you go in the Navy? Where were your destinations?
All over the world.
What line were you with?
The Royal Fleet Auxiliary.
Yeah.
We're the, you could call it the petrol stations, the gas stations of the coast. We'd be refueling ships at sea.
Yeah, we used to have the reserve in Belfast, the Caroline. She was there.
Oh, that's the Navy Reserve.
Yeah.
Royal Fleet Auxiliary is up to the point now, I think it's changing, but it was all merchant navy, merchant navy regulations.
Would you have gone to the Falklands to look after the refueling requirements?
Yeah, during that time,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was from early '66 when I was in the fleet, and we went out to the forest. Remember when Smithy done his UDI?
Oh, aye, indeed.
Well, we were stopping. As an auxiliary, we looked like a Royal Naval ship, so they used us, as a bluff. As the ships came in, all the clan ships would be coming in to Beira or Mombasa, and we would be stopping them to see that they'd nothing for Mr. Smith, the UDI.
So you said clan ships. You're talking about the company.
The old clan lines,
The clan line,
Remember, they were running loads of ships.
Oh, yeah.
This is when the British Merchant Navy was so big.
Just hold that thought a minute. We do still love you, Gerry. Now continue.
Yeah.
Just we keep you there. You be quiet there a minute.
I was just thinking when you were talking, this is a great man with so much experience to hop in the water with you,
Yeah, totally. You're a wonderful man.
This is where you get when you listen sometime with Gerry when he's talking about all the walking he's doing. Then when we go down to summer where they have a ceilidh, and him and Vernetta are the best club dancers I've seen.
There you are.
I get my feet going.
But listen, boys, you have a wonderful life, and sometimes you're so close to it you don't realise that.
Absolutely,
And you have a freedom and a wonderment in your lives, but you don't keep it to yourself, because I have seen you, the leader of groups of very special human beings, people who have challenges to overcome in their lives, and you assist them in that, and you've done that all your life.
I think we all need to reflect on ourselves and be very careful that we don't become whingers as such, because I do a volunteer job on a Monday with the Confederation. It's called the Good Morning Calls, and I ring up people, and you're talking to a wide variety of the populace, some of whom I actually know.
Oh yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of people with a lot of difficulties who are soldiering on. You know, and the old story is, I was talking to him on the other day, and he says, if you can get up in the morning and take your tablets, you're not too bad.
I think that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I met a man, I was telling folk on the programme last Saturday, and the weather's getting cold in Dublin now, and he's on the streets.
Oh dear.
And I said, why do you manage? He says, well, I'm on the streets again. Sometimes they get a house and then they lose it because of rent, and then they get a hostel or they can't get into a hostel. I said, well, what I do is this. He said, in the late night, he said, I take the bus to Belfast, I have my pass. Take the bus to Belfast, and then I get to the Europa station. I spend an hour just wandering around the station and looking at the windows, blah, 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 blah. And then I get back on the next bus down, and that takes me back to Dublin. I'm back into Dublin by 6 in the morning. That has put the night in.
Yeah.
I've been warm, I've been dry, I've been able to sleep. And he said, as long as, and he's very realistic, he said, as long as I am clean and don't smell, everything's fine, nobody minds. Isn't that lovely? It's an awful way that people are.
It's certainly an imaginative way to actually to spend your time and to try to overcome some of the difficulties that are presented to you. You know?
Absolutely. Guys, how do people join you? I think it's important they know that.
The card which I will leave with you here.
Yes.
We have a little card, and it says it gives the name of the club on it, my name and numbers on it also. So I tend to distribute these out to anyone who is remotely interested. But if you go onto Facebook and getting onto Facebook and just plot in Uri and Moran Sea Kayak and Canoe Club, and that'll bring up our site, and all the information that you require will be there, plus all the photographs of the various places that we've been and the things that we're doing. You know.
Yeah.
We have a big event this weekend on the canal, and we're hoping to have a lot of canoeists from all over Ireland.
Wow.
Competing on the canal over a series of races from under 10s right up to senior open.
Wonderful.
10K.
I have to say, with all honesty, I'm much happier. Well, I'm totally happy to see canoes on the canal. I am substantially unhappy to see ribs, rigid inflatable boats, speeding on the canal. And I've seen that in the relatively recent past.
It doesn't. The ribs don't happen out of. But one of my pet hates would be the jet skis.
Ah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there is on the canal. There's supposed to be a 5 mile per hour speed limit. Yeah. And I encourage the council, and I know that Paddy Duffy is assiduous in this. I know that Edwin Curtis is equally assiduous in this, of making sure that that's implemented. Because if these jet skis and these ribs put up a wake, over a short enough period of time it will erode the banks, and almost immediately it will be to the detriment of the nesting birds who build their nests on the water, very close to the water.
Absolutely.
You're gentlemen of nature.
One of the loveliest things that you'll see on the canal, apart from anywhere else, or the Blackwater, is the flash of blue from the kingfisher.
And you're seeing more, thank God you're seeing more and more of it these days.
Brilliant.
There was a time when Donnelly and I, God rest him, when we saw a kingfisher, we would have been talking about it for a week, you know.
Yeah.
You've brought great joy to me this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm glad to tell you that these men of the Newry and Moran the Newry and Moran Sea Kayaking Canoe Club will be coming back to us on a once or twice a month basis, and we're going to liaise on that and make that happen. Gerry McAnuff, thank you. Neil O'Hale, thank you both very much indeed. Go well. Take care.
Got a mail on my